Okay, it's great to see you all again. Today's Monday. It feels like I don't know why it feels like Tuesday, but it's Monday. Yes, we're so glad to see you. And I'm thrilled to be here with these three amazing power trippers. Let me talk about what we're trying to do today. We're gonna give you a little bit of an intro to our panelists. I'm going to give folks just an overview of what VUCA is, just to make sure that we're inclusive, especially since many of you were not here last year. And then I have some questions for our panelists. If we do have time, I'd love to get questions from the audience, so we'll play it by ear in terms of timing. But I'm really excited to talk to these three amazing leaders, to hopefully pour into all of you, and learn from lessons, hard lessons, soft lessons, and everything in between. Okay, let me get my clicker, Jonathan. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna do some quick intros, and I'm gonna start with Tu Moi Caroz from Roseville Joint Union High School, Assistant Superintendent, and she hails from the state of California right now, but I know you've probably lived in many places. So Tu, why don't you take the mic and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Kemi. My name is Dr. Tu Moi Caroz, and I am from Roseville Joint Union High School District in Northern California, right outside of Sacramento, California. And it's, thank you. To all of the fellow chief academic officers, educational services leaders, I'm our educational services leader in Roseville Joint Union High School District, so it's a pleasure to be here.
And I asked each panelist to come with our little bonus question. Our bonus question today is, what's on your playlist? And my example, what's on my playlist is, I love Afro beats, and so Burna Boy is on my playlist. If you haven't been introduced to Burna Boy, I highly recommend it. So Tu, what is on your playlist?
All right, so perfect question, but I just graduated last year with my doctorate from UC Berkeley, and for my
Woo!
Thank you. Woo, woo. Go Bears.
Go Bears.
And Kemi's.
I know, we didn't plan this. My son just graduated from Berkeley, and you just graduated, so we have that in common.
So for my graduation party, forgive me, Mel, it's gonna be repetitive for you. For my graduation party, I created Tu's playlist. And it was like all of these women empowering songs because it kicked my butt. Like, I'm a mom, I'm a full-time working professional. Classes were Friday nights, all day Saturdays. And Berkeley don't let you off easy. Like, they grilled us. I've never cried professionally, and I kid you not, I cried so many times and shook so many times. So I would say my favorite song though in that playlist is Scars to Your Beautiful by Alicia Cara, because it really just speaks to how your scars is to be celebrated. And that as women, we often hide that which is most scarring, but actually what makes us most human and powerful are indeed those moments and those instances that have indeed created those scars.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, Teresa. So Teresa Woods comes from Lighthouse Connections Academy as executive director from the Midwest, my home region of Michigan. So Teresa, why don't you take a few minutes to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon. I'm Teresa Woods. I'm from Lighthouse Connections Academy. I'm the executive director and superintendent of a K-12 virtual district, and we service all the students in the state of Michigan.
And what's on your playlist? Or I said, if you don't have a playlist, maybe some people are not music people, maybe what are you binge watching on TV? That's another alternative option.
So I have been binge watching, and I'm not really a TV type person, but I've been watching the reruns of Dr. Pimple Popper.
For some reason, I don't know if I was a gambling person, I would have definitely lost. I would not have expected that to come out of your mouth, but we'll take it. You and my son have something in common.
I just
Yeah, my middle son, Che, he watches that show.
I just happened to stumble across it, and I'm like, what is happening here?
You were open and you were curious.
Yeah, so I just had to keep watching, and it helped because it kept everyone else out of the space at the time. So
Yeah.
I'll watch again.
Yes. There you go. Thanks, Teresa. Okay. Lisa. So Lisa Leali is superintendent of Lake Bluff Elementary School, District 65, in my other hometown, Chicago, Illinois. Well, not Lake Bluff exactly, but in Illinois, again, Midwest. So Lisa, tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. That is fascinating. And now I have another strategy for getting my kids out of the room. No, I'm happy to be here. I'm going into my 6th year as a superintendent of Lake Bluff District 65. We have about 850 pre-K to 8 students. We are a small district, just an elementary school and a middle school, and we're located literally on Lake Michigan. It's a beautiful community, and we have some diversity. About 20% of our kids do not live on the shores of Lake Michigan. They have a lot of struggles socioeconomically, and so we have a little bit of diversity and some struggle in there. But we have fun. We have fun in our little community. And my playlist, I've been trying to do some walking this year. So
Okay, drum roll.
I'm going to say Tones and I, Dance With Me. Does anyone know that song? If you haven't heard it yet, it's a
no.
good one. I love to dance. So
Love it. Love it. Thank you. That's right, Marilyn. So last year we were dancing. We forgot that on the agenda. We might need to bring it back at the pool party later. Okay. So my first question, and we'll start with 2, is thinking about VUCA. And speaking about VUCA, let's just, for everybody else, VUCA is around, as Marilyn mentioned, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And I think Ashley talked a little bit, I saw a lot of hands raising about things that have been happening in your districts across the last 12 months. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and hear more about how you all might have experienced your VUCA time. And so my question is, what part, parentheses S, parts, because this could be multiple, parts of VUCA have you had to deal with in the past year? So maybe 1 or 2 or a combo. Most people have said combo, but it's your choice.
Sure. So I'll go back and forth between a professional example and a personal example. So my daughter just graduated from high school. She's my first, and she's also going away to college. And then, of course, this past year in California, we have been up against legislation around passing ethnic studies as a graduation course requirement, which has caused quite a bit of strife in communities, from both liberal to conservative communities. And let's start with the professional. So regarding uncertainty, I, as the academic lead, have had to deal with the uncertainties of the board's direction with regards to where the board would like to direct staff with ethnic studies, as the legislation and the feelings around advocacy groups as well as political groups have evolved in California. And I've just realized that, to really be adaptable and agile, you just have to be okay with uncertainty and be able to pivot as your community and your board expects you to do. That's much harder as a mom. I would say I struggle mightily with, I still do, letting my daughter go. She's leaving this fall, and I don't know for those of you who have had your first go away, please share advice with me. I've been doing a lot of praying. I've been talking to a lot of girlfriends who have sent the first away. I might even cry. I'm so embarrassed. I might even cry.
it's okay.
She is my best friend, my daughter, my only daughter, and we do everything together. And it's been a journey this summer, especially as we get together to buying something as small as dorm essentials. So I think the uncertainty, I would say this, in the professional world is not nearly as challenging as a personal world. And so to remember what really matters is that which we hold close to our heart at home and not sweat on the little things at work.
I love that. I don't know about you, but I felt that. Yes. So who in the audience can pour into who has had that experience? So you can see there's a lot of hands that have you and have your back, so thanks for sharing. What about you, Teresa?
I think for me in Michigan, being a public charter cyber school has placed us in a very unique situation with the changes in our state government. There's a lot of support for public charter schools, but very little support for public charter cyber schools. So we are constantly under attack relative to funding. So there's a constant line item of us receiving 20% less funding than everyone else. So I would say the uncertainty, because as this time comes around each year, my team and my teachers and parents and everyone, gets really unnerved at, what are we going to do? Are people going to lose their jobs? Are we going? So we've definitely had to make sure to spend more time in educating people on what happens in the cyber arena, and that the fact that we are a public school and our teachers are certified to teach, all the things that kind of takes away the mystique of not being a real school. So some of that uncertainty really has played a role in making sure that our staff feel confident in their positions in their teaching arena, how our families and our parents know that we are stable and we will be here and kind of weather the storm. And then the board side, making sure that they feel confident that we're making all the right decisions to keep ourselves stable for the long haul.
You used the word attack, and you said you've been dealing with uncertainty. That sounds like volatility as well.
Yes, a lot of volatility because when we go to the Capitol to have these conversations, there can be a lot of attack in the why do you need funding? You don't have a building. However, their laws require us to bring each and every one of our students in person to take all of the tests. And brick and mortar schools, you have brick and mortar, but we have to find those spaces and we have to pay for those spaces and make sure those spaces are safe. And that's a huge undertaking when you're, dealing with thousands of students all across the state. So it's a lot of pushback and a lot of, volatility. Yeah.
And I'm resisting the urge to asking, and what did you do about that? That's a question coming up. So, okay, so we have uncertainty with a little mix of volatility. What about you, Lisa? Which part of VUCA have you been dealing with?
So I love, too, that you talked about your home, personal life, and your professional life. I'm a single mom. I sometimes say exclusive mom because who cares if I'm single, right? I'm just doing it on my own, so I say exclusive. And I have 3 kids, and my oldest, my son, is going into his junior year at Indiana University, and it was very difficult. That time before he left was one of the hardest in my life, actually, to let him go. But he left me with 2 teenage daughters, which is where I get to volatility, because if you read that definition, that's them. That is it. 13-year-old and a 15-year-old. I think he's scared to come home, but he's coming home, and we're just living life, being very volatile in my house. And I do understand it. It's just unknown duration, unstable, unexpected, yes, all the things. So that's my house. But in terms of professional life, the science of reading hit us, that whole issue hit us really hard in Bluff. We, before I got there, had invested a lot in professional development in the units of study. And I mean, really deep into the work and into the philosophy. And so, in around 2020, we were kind of coming out of the pandemic. We were starting to evaluate and looking at what we needed to do to shore up, especially the early elementary. And we did a lot of study and we did a lot of planning. And thank you to Cambium Learning for the letters training is a big part of our strategy. I know you didn't ask me to say that, but
I did not pay this woman.
not at all, but it's a big part of it. So very complex situation, but became more complex when this last year my community found the podcast. So when we had been quietly studying and doing our work and making our plans and making our adjustments, they found the podcast and were like, wait a minute, what? And we hadn't been communicating a lot about the changes we were making because, quite frankly, we didn't want to bring more attention to the issue outside of our district than it needed to have. And so for the last year, we have had obviously the complexity of doing all the shifting internally and then the outside kind of questioning and conspiracy theories and communication issues that come along with managing big change, especially that can be confusing when our results really are not that bad. We're really just tweaking as opposed to making a major overhaul, and yet that's a very confusing thing when you're listening to the publicity around the issue and trying to manage that. So that was my example of complexity this last year.
I love all of that, and the home front too. What came to mind when you were talking, and it kind of connects to what Teresa mentioned, is how do we balance the level of communication and transparency with our stakeholders? And I think that's a constant struggle. You don't want to over-communicate, but you also don't want to under-communicate because sometimes that stops from getting the buy-in. And I think when you're dealing with VUCA, my experience, I used to work for New York City Department of Education, and so my whole life was about not getting into the New York Post page 6. Literally, I shouldn't say that. It is a joke, but it's not a joke because and sadly, that drove a lot of what was decided as to what to communicate and what not to communicate because of the challenges. So thank you for sharing. Okay, so now I'd love to hear about what is your proudest moment in terms of how you navigated VUCA in the past year? What were you proud of in terms of yes, I figured something out? What golden nuggets would you share with this team?
Well, I haven't figured it out yet. Let me be honest. Artificial intelligence is everywhere, and we as educators are called to either embrace it or be left behind. And I think all of us will agree that often our very own teachers are probably most opposed to bringing AI into the classroom for fear of cheating. And so our board, what I am most proud of is our board has tasked, and my superintendent has tasked me with leading the work of AI, bringing AI into our system in a way that's embraced both by our adult practitioners as well as, of course, our students and our families. Not an easy task. And honestly, I didn't even know where to begin because we all know AI is still just burgeoning at the scene, but yet with no real guidelines from either the feds or the state for us in California. And so I just decided I would say this is why I'm proud of it is, I'm still fairly new. This is going to be my third year in Roseville Joint, still establishing relationships, and decided to be very vulnerable and authentic with our teachers and say, I'd love for our teachers who have already embraced AI to be part of this think tank where we can thoughtfully put together not only a policy, but some guidelines and practices, some professional development for our teachers that embraces AI in the classroom with intentionality and purpose, while also building the capacities and really giving permission for our students and our communities to embrace it. So that's something I would say.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. And I think if we didn't talk about AI at this conference, I think it would be quite amazingly, and it's everywhere. And I love the idea of setting up a think tank because to me, the practice, setting the structure up to practice and test out different things is like the first step of really helping with the change. So I love that. Thanks for sharing. Teresa, what about you? What are you most proud of?
Well, kind of going back into the line of our motto of needing, to show that we are equivalent to a brick and mortar. One of the things you need is, you need the data. And, having our students participate at a 95% or greater in the state testing assessments was our goal. And when I got, I'm going into my 4th school year with this district, and we weren't meeting those goals. And being a cyber school, everyone sort of thought that families just would not participate in the coming together, that this is the reason why that they have chosen a cyber environment, because they don't want to see other people, they don't. And I believed that that was not the case. I believe that sometimes a cyber setting was the best setting, a best fit for the family, but that doesn't mean that they didn't want community and they didn't want to connect with one another. And I also thought that if you are asking someone to bring their child to a random hotel conference room one day in the spring to meet people they've never seen before, I wouldn't go. No, I wouldn't take my kids there. I wouldn't be comfortable. So what I thought was, we need to make sure that that's not the first time that we ask parents to bring their kids to be in our presence at a high-stake event. So we really went heavy into engagement and field trips and opportunities for them just to see us in non-threatening environments and places that they have fun, at an orchard, at the zoo, at the museum. We had prom, all these other things that they could get to know us and have seen us face to face, to be able to, when it came to that time that we needed them there, that they were more likely, to attend. And so, I guess I probably could have led with that in terms of volatility, because boy, was it volatile from my staff. They came at me with, barrels blazing. Like, what do you mean? You want me to leave my house and meet these kids at the zoo?
Oh, really? So that was.
My gosh.
So tell us more about that.
Yes, they were very, very angry. They were. It just was perplexing. It was a lot of barriers with, the time, and it's going to take away from the studies. And, I normally am picking my kids up from school at 2 o'clock, and I'm like, well.
And how did you convince them to come in?
I made it mandatory.
Okay.
I made it mandatory, but I started the year before that. At the end of the year,
So give them a
my
heads up.
principals all met with all their team, and they said, before you sign this agreement to come back, let me tell you what you're going to be required to do. You're going to have to come and meet these students face to face at 6 times minimum a school year.
So you set the vision.
And
And reset the expectations.
Yes.
It's
And-
funny. It's interesting you say that, because I'm actually going to click forward. I think you were already doing some of this, painting a picture of the future. Look at that. And really helping people understand the connection to their purpose.
We did that, and so as we did that, we had more students come. We've had great, publicity with that in terms of our social media presence and communications gone out to families. But I will say that by the end of the year, that we exceeded the state goal of the 95%. Our students, they showed up.
Amazing.
They showed up. They made plans. We had a family that came by the time, at the end of the year. They talked about at the very first field trip in the fall that they had met their new best friends,
Yeah.
and now the families were best friends, and they did things together, and they started developing the community. So
It's an amazing story. As a former, my son was a homeschool kid, and we didn't have that. And I wish I had the in-person connection. So that hybrid solution is something that definitely sounds like it made a difference. Thanks for sharing. And Lisa.
Yeah, so we tried really hard to create a communication strategy to clear up what was going on with science of reading, what was going on with the units of study, and we tried to hit it from all different areas, newsletters, curriculum night, getting the word out, and it just wasn't working. The behind the scenes communication was just constant, the rumor mill, and the more we communicated, the more it felt like the community was like, nah, I don't think so. They just like weren't buying it. And so ultimately, what we got down to was we just needed to get in the arena, so to speak, with the parents and just be there and answer whatever questions. In hindsight, I don't think we did pick the best arena. In my middle school, we have what we call presentation stairs. If you can picture these beautiful wooden stairs where kids eat lunch and then,
Oh my gosh, I thought when you said presentation stairs, I thought you meant stairs like staring, like the staring
No,
game. I'm like,
no,
how is that
but like
working?
stairs.
Like stare
And this is
until somebody
beautiful
breaks the stair?
environment.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
physical
no.
stairs. Okay, thank
Physical
you.
stairs. And so I'm like, oh, we'll go on the presentation stairs. So it was me at the bottom and just, angry parents, like gladiator type education environment. And got a good group of them to come out and presented as much data as we could with as much clarity as we could, and then we just opened it up for questions. And we were as honest as we could be. I mean, we don't have all the answers. We haven't made it through our strategy. We're still working through it. Our teachers are in mourning, some of them, honestly. They're still upset. They're still afraid. We still have, confusion that we're clearing up internally, but the best thing that we could do was just get in there with people and answer their questions and be as transparent and honest as we could be. And although not everyone left feeling satisfied probably with the direction that we're going or the timeline that we're on, at least they knew where we were coming from, and everyone kind of left feeling like they had a better understanding of the journey that we had been on and the idea that, the ideas that we had moving forward. As far as volatility, my daughter would love California. And if you're looking for someone to partner with once your daughter leaves, I'll send her out to you.
I love
Sounds
that
like
story.
a strategy.
So I love that story though, because it goes back to trust, transparent connection with the what is it called? The presentation stairs.
Yes, horrible presentation
Yes,
stairs.
But you made it happen, so love that. I'm going to do a quick time check because I know we started a little off. Okay, we're still good. Awesome. Okay, so this is a little bit of a pithy question. So I'm asking each of you, if you think about the last year, dealing with all the VUCA, the uncertainty, the complexity, ambiguity, and volatility, if there were one or two leadership competencies, what would they be in terms of like what did you need to hone in on? Let me give you an example. So I feel like in these days we need to lean into courage, and I think Ashley might have mentioned the word brave. So courage, I've been thinking a lot about leading courageously, or because I think these times require that. It's not just stepping out of your comfort zone, it's stepping out of your comfort zone knowing that something actually might happen to you personally, professionally. I'm not saying like physically, I'm just saying there's a lot of risks out there with leading courageously. So courage would be my word. What would your word be in terms of what you had to hone in on or really emphasize?
I would say that it would be authentically human. And the reason why I say that is this past year, like many school districts, we've seen some loss in funding, which meant some of my teachers on special assignment had to go. And I supported that conversation. I mean, like we're all human, right? And I wasn't looking forward to having that conversation, letting someone know that they no longer have a job for 25, 26. And I just told myself to, just be yourself. Like, just show up authentically, be transparent, and be human, because everybody deserves some authenticity and humanity in a very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And so while this teacher in special assignment didn't need to know about all of this mechanisms of funding stream, I took the time to explain to him all of the mechanisms of the funding streams and why it impacted his position. I was authentic in talking about and giving him the space to talk about his family and his aspirations and his dreams and where he wanted to go, because he didn't necessarily want to go back to the classroom. And I authentically leaned into the fact that I wanted to support him chase that educational technology consulting dream. So it turned out, and honestly, I was not looking forward to the conversation, but and it took time. After the 2-hour conversation, I felt really good because he felt good. And I felt good because if I was in his shoes, I would have loved a supervisor to have treated me with that same kind of humanity.
Well, thanks for sharing. That's a good example of lots of career conversations that many of you are probably having as we speak. What about you, Teresa?
I guess I think of two things. One is making sure that I'm regularly checking in on my emotional intelligence piece and making sure that that's regulated in when I move out in decision making, and also being flexible. Just always making sure that I'm okay with pivoting and changing and moving directions and things like that. Just expecting that to happen and knowing that, that's okay.
I love that word flexibility. I think it's an underrated word, that and adaptability. We talk a lot about people being flexible, and it connects what Ashley was talking about, being soft or being brittle. Just in my own experience, with stress and tension, we can become very rigid. And I've found a lot of leaders that I work with personally, as just coaching, have just lost their authentic self because they become a brittle, rigid person when they could have lent into more flexibility. So I love that. Thanks for sharing. Lisa.
Yeah, I love both of those. I think a while ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I would have said trust. But I don't actually, I actually been thinking a lot about trust lately, and I think in this, maybe people feel differently, but I feel like trust is not a word that we can use right now. Like, I don't feel like people just trust. We can't just say, I trust, or, I think we need to be honest. And I actually think honesty for me is the leadership trait that I think we just need to be honest. And it's not even like presenting facts, because people don't trust facts either. It's just, we just need to be honest and say we're being honest about the challenges that we're having, about the ideas that we've tried, about the things that, the ways we're moving forward, and the conditions that we're under. And that's all we can do. And then people can, come to whatever conclusions they want about our organizations. But I feel like honesty at this point is the thing that I lean into most.
That feels like very back to basics, but it feels very hard right now, especially if you're living in a VUCA world. But I love that, trust and honesty. Okay, my last thought. I gave you all 4 different quotes, and I asked you which quote resonates with you and why. I'm going to read them all to the audience because I'm asking you to think about the same question. So, ready for the quotes? Okay. Let's see. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. I'll just say it again. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid. Second quote. The art of life is a constant readjustment to our surroundings. The art of life is a constant readjustment to our surroundings. The third quote is, when the winds of change blow, some people build walls and others build windmills. When the winds of change blow, some people build walls and others build windmills. And the last one is actually a poem, not a quote. If the ocean can calm itself, so can you. We are both salt and water. We're both salt water mixed with air. I'll read that one more time. If the ocean can calm itself, so can you. We are both salt water mixed with air. Okay, so which of those quotes resonates with you and why?
Definitely the first one. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. And I say that because I come from a lineage and of ancestors who have escaped war-torn countries. I wasn't born in America. I was born in a refugee camp where my father was literally a boy soldier. My mother and father brought 10 children to America safely under war circumstances. And I think, well, geez, too, if your ancestors and your parents were able to do this and not lose one life, you can serve children, and you can do what's right each and every day.
Thank you.
I'm the windmill. I'm generally been a very type A type of person, things in order, and I too have two volatile-ish, not so much now, but two daughters, 18 months apart. So, you know, my whole life was called the warden, and I'm the warden, and the dad's the fairy godmother, godfather, God. But so in that space of being regimented and routine, and that I really have evolved into embracing the fact that I can deal with the change, and if something has to change, we're just going to make it work. We're going to figure out how it's going to work, and move on and make something out of that. But it was birthed from those people.
Thank you.
Those people.
Yeah, so I'll just read it again. When the winds of change blow, when the winds of change blow, some people build walls, but Teresa builds windmills. There we go. Okay, Lisa.
I'm going to say the last one, but just like the first part of it. If the ocean can
Just
calm
the
down,
ocean?
just calm down. That's really, like, that one resonated
Okay,
with
so
me.
if the ocean can calm itself, so
So
can Lisa.
You. So can you. We can all do better. I think we can all do better at being more calm, more thoughtful, more mindful. Like the beginning, we said at the session how much of our day would be better if we all started from a place that was more thoughtful and meditative. So I like that one.
Thank you. So I'm going to throw it out to the audience just for two people, two volunteers. Which one of those resonated with you and why? Anybody want to go? Oh, the one that no one shows. The art of life is a constant readjustment to our surroundings.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So I feel like we're always evolving and we're always changing and learning, and the circumstances that we're in are always changing. And so just being responsive to that, and learning and growing and adjusting.
Awesome. And one more person. I know Jonathan's like, what? She didn't tell me I was going to do. I was going to do this. One more person. The poem, if the ocean can calm itself, so can you. We are both salt water mixed with air.
Yeah, and I made the connection to what Ashley had shared earlier about the power of water, and that calming itself is also a power that it has, and just making that connection to what she shared really resonated with me.
No, thank you for sharing. Okay. And thank you, Jonathan, for the detour. Yes. Okay. Well, I hope you all learned something about VUCA. I hope you learned something about these three amazing leaders and their leadership stories. Do know that this information in these decks, I will make sure that you have them. And I'll give you all of the stuff from last year. So if you weren't here last year, I'm going to give you the entire 90-minute session plus a facilitator guide that I did. And you can use it in your districts. You know, and that's my gift to you, and I'm very happy to give it away because I hope that it could be useful to all of you. But until then, please give me a warm applause for our three panelists. Thank you so much.